Hey, so today I wanted to make a video for appointment setters specifically, but if you're a coach or an agency, this video will apply to you as well because I'm just going to be showing you how you can leverage automation to generate more attention, and more attention will ultimately result in more calls for you, and more calls for you equals more clients and equals more money for you. But for the appointment setters, if you are an appointment setter watching this video, or even if you're setting appointments for your own agency, I noticed a lot of gurus selling the dream to people and lying and giving false expectations that appointment setting can take 3 to 4 hours per day of just sending messages from your phone. That's complete BS. It's never going to take you 3 to 4 hours a day. If it's going to take you 3 to 4 hours a day, I'm not sure if you're even going to make 1K per month. With that, the way you actually do make 3 to 7 to 5K per month, whatever all these gurus are preaching, is by being able to create leverage. Especially when you're trying to generate new conversations, when you're trying to generate new attention. And you create leverage with automation and AI, which is going to be exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video, how you can leverage new automation that doesn't get you banned, doesn't get you flagged, semi-automation, and also how you can leverage AI to generate 10 times more attention than you are able to generate right now with your manual efforts. In today's video, I wanted to cover exactly how you can 10x your appointment setting speed and use automation and semi-automation to do so. Now, this has only been available for a very little time, so I haven't seen anyone else in the market in the appointment setting space teach this except me. So I think it's only fair for me to introduce you to a system you can implement into your appointment setting to 10x your appointment setting speed and have a competitive advantage in this game, especially if you're doing some sort of outbound setting, which most setters start with. And even if you're maybe on an inbound offer, if you're still converting some of that attention like likes, comments, views, new follows, you can still leverage this system, basically speed up the whole process. Now, before I actually cover everything else, if you need any of the guides in this video, because there will be a few outside of this doc, make sure to DM me about them and I will send them your way. So the first question actually is, why do you need to even 10x your appointment setting speed? Well, it's very simple. The more conversions you get, the more meetings you book, and the more meetings you book, the more money you will make. So if you want to increase your commissions, but also potentially increase your time freedom, if you're not chasing the money and you're chasing time freedom, that's something you can do with this, because the less time you spend, converting the same amount of meetings, the more money you make, or even you can make the same amount of money but then just have more free time. To start more conversations, you need proper time management, or even better, you need to gain leverage on your own time by automating the most consuming tasks when setting. Usually the day for an average appointment setter will take between 5 and 8 hours. Sorry, most gurus lied to you. It does not take 3 to 4 hours a day, but it's your choice. You can keep following the gurus and keep following the advice they're giving you, and then get into the appointment setting space with false expectations. Here's how that 5 to 8 hour day will be divided, and we will use the longer example, the 8-hour example, to actually divide it. So if you're going to be an inbound setter, which usually appointment setters aren't able to start as, because you first need to prove yourself as an outbound setter. If you're going to be an inbound setter, your 8-hour day will usually be split into a 40-60 or a 50-50 split, right? Sending outbound DMs to everyone who engage with your client's content, the likes, comments, new followers, basically converting the attention that your client gets, will be around half of your day. And then replying to the incoming DMs, the DMs that your client receives, right? You're an inbound setter, will also take you between 4 to 5 hours. So it's going to be basically a 50-50 split for you. Now, if you're an outbound setter, which most beginner appointment setters and even intermediate setters are doing, your 8-hour day will usually be divided into 3 parts. The first part, the fourth of this day, will be sourcing and qualifying 100 to 150 leads for the day. This will usually take you an hour and a half. So 50% of that day will be doing outbound messaging for the whole day. So that's going to take you 4 to 5 hours. As you send more messages, you will get faster with outbound setting, but it will always usually take up around half of your day. And then finally, replying for 2 hours. That's going to be the other 25% of your day, because you actually need to have the best responses possible to actually be able to convert people, right? So you're going to spend another 25% of that day thinking about the best way to handle replies and the best way to convert people onto calls without spooking them, and without losing them as prospects. Now, what if I told you you can spend about 10 times less, around 30 minutes per day, for both lead sourcing and messaging outbound prospects for both inbound and outbound setting? Well, it's possible with semi-automation and automation. But before we can get into the automation, I must clarify that you need to have an efficient tracking system in place already. As you might know, you need to track absolutely everything through the conversational process. And the more efficient that your tracking system is, the less time you will spend tracking and the more time you will be able to spend making those commissions. You need to start with an efficient tracking system. So here's the exact tracking sheet that I personally used and make all of our students use for the fastest tracking flow. Again, the faster you track, the more time you actually get to spend on the conversations and converting those conversations onto meetings. One thing before I show you, just make sure you go to File, make a copy, and duplicate the sheet for yourself to be able to actually use it. Alright guys, so the tracking sheet is actually very simple, and that's why I think it's the most efficient tracking sheet so far if you're not going to be using some sort of paid pipeline. Because it's literally a click and move type of system. So for example, I was testing this on some leads just to prove a point here, but here you have a lead here. When you add them, their username right here, the time and date automatically selects. You're able to select which account you actually sent the message from. You're able to move the leads around the whole campaign, right? So we have leads, initials, follow-ups, conversations, conversational follow-ups, looms, lead magnets, whatever you're using as your sales assets to convert leads onto meetings will be what you can add and edit to this pipeline. You have Calendly follow-ups, warm conversations, everything can be tracked, and that's how your tracking sheet should be, because that's the most efficient system. Because you can have a smaller tracking sheet with just half of this pipeline, but then you're gonna have to be scrambling around the whole sheet if you have to find a lead that you maybe sent a Calendly link to, and now you have to find them to actually follow up with them. For example, this person was sent an initial message to, so now if I want to move them from initial to the next status, let's say we sent them an initial and now we're going to send them the follow-up one, right? We send them the first follow-up, we literally just move them to follow-up one and they're going to automatically move. Now if you check follow-up one, this person is here. Now it's not only restricted to moving one space at a time, right? You can move across the whole chessboard basically. So if you now start a convo after follow-up one, select convo, and the person gets moved to the conversational pipeline, right? And they're right here. And it selects the date, so everything is tracked. Once you ensure that you're using and minimizing your time spent tracking and maximizing your time spent setting, you have to move to the next thing that everyone must be doing, and that's using multiple accounts. While this does not apply as much to inbound setting, because with inbound setting, you're most likely on your client's account. If you are doing outbound setting, please do not rely on a single Instagram account and expect to book 5 meetings per day. It's impossible because it's impossible to do enough volume. You need a minimum of 3 Instagram accounts to represent you and send messages from, because volume here is crucial. Again, you cannot really expect 5, even 2 to 3 meetings per day just from sending messages on one account. Because on one account, you're restricted to about 50 messages at most, and then you're basically done for the day with that account. Now, to be able to send over 100 messages per day and increase your chances of getting conversations and booking meetings, you need to have accounts. You need to have Instagram accounts. And again, the more volume, the more convos get started, the more prospects book calls, the more commissions you make. If you have an efficient tracking system and you have multiple accounts to use, the next step will be to move into a pipeline and have some sort of semi-automation. This speeds you up even more and fastens your process even more. So you can semi-automate your outreach with tools like Flowchat.com. I have a white labeled version of Flowchat, and I will say that this is one of the best tools you can have for outreach if you're going to be doing outreach on any outreach platform. This literally supports Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, every platform that you can think of, this tool supports. And the reason this tool is so good is because it has its own pipeline. So you can actually scrape leads, you can source leads with this tool. Those leads will get imported into the pipelines in this tool, right? And then you can actually manage them in this tool. So everything that happens surrounding Facebook, Instagram, any of your outreach platforms will happen and take place in this tool. And the best part is this tool can kind of work like a clipboard. So you can literally use this tool, select your leads from this tool, say message your lead, and then it's gonna take you to Instagram and just paste in the message for that lead. And it can even personalize by using AI. So this tool is literally the perfect solution if you are looking for semi-automation. You can literally take care of your outreach A to Z inside of Flowchat without using any more tracking sheets, without using absolutely anything else. You can even put sales assets in here. Everything you need to leverage to book people on calls is already inside of Flowchat, including AI that will be able to personalize messages for you. Everything can't be sunshine and rainbows, and the downside of this tool is that it's $250 per month. But does the upside reflect the costs? As I mentioned, you are able to dabble with some AI capabilities while having a smooth pipeline for all your leads for literally every stage and every social media platform that you can outreach on. The purpose of it is that you save a lot of time and energy that you can reinvest into things that matter. And the conversations that you then convert onto calls make your commissions, right? So you can invest the time you're saving with this automated pipeline and then invest that time into conversations to then reap the reward of more commissions because you're able to convert more people in that time frame. Flowchat has the ability to paste dynamic messages into chat boxes on your outreach platforms, meaning if you're messaging someone that's named Mike on Instagram, for example, with a messaging template like, hey, first name, right, the messaging dynamic variable, how would your business change if you can add an extra 20 customers to your subscription overnight? It will paste the message into the chat box and automatically change the actual personalization template to, hey Mike, how would your business change if you could add an extra 20 customers to your subscriptions overnight? And all of this on its own saves you about 30 to 50% of time you take to send initial messages, follow-ups, or any pre-scripted replies. This tool can also automatically scrape likes, followers, hashtags, comments, followings, saving you 1 to 2 hours from lead sourcing. And this matters for both inbound and outbound setting, because if you're an inbound setter that's meant to convert some of the engagement, right? If the people like the new short form content video and your client tells you to convert those people onto calls, you're going to be converting everyone one by one. Now, what you can do with this tool is literally scrape all of those likes and then basically semi-automate the messaging process and save yourself 1 to 2 hours lead sourcing. And it's even better if you're doing outbound setting. Now, as I showed you in the software, it also has simple pipeline management, meaning you can literally move leads from one stage to the other without having to use any sort of Google Sheet like I previously showed you, which improves your efficiency even more. Now with this semi-automated tool, you have a lot of time now that you can use to reply to started conversations and to convert prospects or even think about getting on another side hustle or another setting job. So basically getting your second position as a setter to double up your income. Now, if you have any questions on how to actually use Flowchat, just send me a DM about it and I'll hook you up with a more in-depth free guide on Flowchat and its actual features. Finally, to get to the full automation part, and yes, it exists. A lot of people are saying that, Instagram automation does not exist. It gets you banned, it gets you this. But no, Instagram automation exists, and it allows you to send a lot more messages than you can just by sending messages manually, which gives you a lot more leverage. And this tool took us over 2 months to find because absolutely no one shows it. I've never seen another guru talk about this. I've never even seen really a YouTube video talk about it. And I'm not sure why, because this automation tool allows you to have the most amount of leverage on your time by letting you complete 5 hours of work in 15 minutes of setup time. It's called IG Booster Bot, and at only $10 per month, again, it's only $10 per month, it lets you send up to 400 DMs per day by using 5 different Instagram accounts. This is why I mentioned that you need to use multiple accounts, at least 3 Instagram accounts, if you're not yet doing so for the sake of volume alone. Now, IG Booster allows you to send more DMs per account because it A, simulates your keyboard and mouse when sending messages, making you look human, leverages dynamic variations, aka multiple variants of the same message, it has random intervals between each message, it has random pauses between every few messages, and it can even send follow-ups for you. So to actually show you what IG Booster Bot looks like, I wanted to pull it up in my extensions tab. Here it says IG Booster Bot is working. Now, as you see, there's a lot of things you can actually set up to make sure that you do not get any problems with this bot. The first thing is you can scrape and target specific lists of people. So if you want to target someone's following, you can target those. You can target custom users, you can scrape with IG Booster and then actually target those users by putting their usernames in this list, and the bot will literally automatically send messages to them. You can follow people, you can unfollow people, you can DM, you can like their posts, you can put specific comments under their posts to make sure people check their actual DMs. You can, for example, tell them under a post and comment that you left them on DM. You can send multiple different variations of DMs to avoid any bans. You can even send pictures with this automation tool, and you can have intervals. This is extremely important. These random intervals is what prevents Instagram from thinking this is an automation bot, and this is exactly what allows you to send up to 400 messages per day with this tool alone without literally touching your keyboard. Outside of this tool, it's really cheap. It's a bot that simulates a human. It literally saves you 4 to 6 hours of messaging per day because, again, you're first saving the time that it would take you to scrape leads, and then you're saving all that time that it would take you to send initial messages to those leads or even follow up with those leads. It means you can now put and transfer all of that energy from trying to scrape leads, from trying to message new leads and follow up with leads, into improving your convo to call conversion rate, or even get a second appointment setting position. As I mentioned, if you can save time being a setter in one position and bring that down to 3 to 4 hours per day, like the gurus promise, with the use of automation, of course, then you can double up your positions and get a second appointment setting job to now double up your income as an appointment setter and use the most leverage out of this skill. Besides, you have a very little personalization capability, which means the reply rates can drop, but it usually is mitigated with volume. You know, volume really does negate luck. So if you're just sending 80 personalized messages per day on your own, if you're doing, for example, outbound setting, or even if you're reaching out to inbound likes, comments, if you're an inbound setter, only so many personalized messages you can send. If you can do 5 times 80 and do 400 messages per day without personalization and just engage people and start conversations, volume will literally crush personalization 10 times over because of just the sheer amount of messages you're sending and the sheer amount of messages that will be getting replies. And again, if you have any questions on how to actually use IG Booster and how to use this bot, just send me a DM about it and I'll hook you up with a more in-depth free guide. Last solution is AI plus automation. This is the way you have the most leverage because you can personalize, right? Personalization matters, although you can beat personalization with volume. Imagine if you sent 400 personalized messages per day without touching your keyboard, right? And just setting up the process. So you can actually do this by leveraging AI to book an extra 5 to 10 meetings per day at minimum and start making 7 to 10K per month from one single placement, meaning that you can then get a second or even a third placement because literally AI is taking care of this whole process for you. It's literally personalizing for you, and then you're using automation to send those messages, which allows you to get that free time to be able to get a second or even third position. Now, we teach this system exclusively to our students because you get an insane amount of leverage on your time. Again, a robot is able to do the personalization and the volume for you, as well as the actual lead scraping. It's literally 70 to 80% of the appointment setter's job. So you're letting AI automate 70 to 80% of your job. The only job that you will still be doing as a setter will be that 25%, which is replying to the conversations that will be flooding into your DMs because of the amount of personalized volume you're able to do with this system. And we are currently working on automating this process with an AI chatbot to handle that as well, which will mean that soon we'll be able to literally automate the appointment setting process basically A to Z, to where appointment setters won't be needed, or you'll be able to just leverage this process and you will be able to take the day off while this process runs in the background for you. But if you took your time to actually watch this video right now, I think you're watching this video for a reason. And because of that, you have an opportunity to DM me to claim your step-by-step AI automation guide that will allow you to turn 8 hours of appointment setting days, the realistic appointment setting days, not the ones that gurus promise you, into 2 to 3 hour cash collecting days after you implement this AI plus automation system. Thanks for watching, and just take action. So yeah guys, if this video helped you and if this is something that you think can apply to what you're doing and with the appointments that you're setting with generating attention, please take action as soon as possible, because if you start generating more attention today, you're gonna get more calls